I'm going to be talking about MoonKnight's The Goldfish Problem. This is the name of the first episode, and so I very closely observed any and all scenes that were related to Stephen Grant's pet fish. He is, a goldfish, so I figured let's take a deeper look and swim into some murky waters to try to find out what's going on with that fish. So at the beginning of the show, setting up a storyline and introducing the main character usually leaves space for foreshadowing or deeper meanings being represented through reoccurring symbolism. I watched the episode a couple times so that I could see the things I had missed the first time around. I quickly realized that every single line in MoonKnight is very well thought out and is presented with intentionality. This is just a sign of good script writing, and it's actually harder to achieve than you may think. So let's talk about the main character. Stephen Grant lives with dissociative identity disorder, which is when a person has multiple alters, similar to alter egos or multiple personalities, which is a term that used to describe the disorder. Psychology today states that alters can take control over an individual. This is frequently understood to be paired with other symptoms, one of which is amnesia, that's too extensive to be explained by ordinary forgetfulness. I read the textbook Dissociative Identity Disorder. Stephen Grant meets all of the criteria required to be diagnosed. One of the things that stands out to me here is point B, where it talks about recurring gaps in the recall of everyday events, which Stephen definitely shows in the first episode, and the impairment in social, occupational, or other important areas of functioning, which is point C. These two really fit in with what I've been reviewing and what I will review in this video. However, all of them are applicable. It's likely a lot of viewers may associate goldfish with short-term memory. You've probably heard the idiom, "You have the memory of a goldfish." According to an article published by Indiana University Bloomington, goldfish memory syndrome, in which a person easily loses their thoughts and forgets things, isn't real. Nevertheless, this expression still lives on. Even though studies presented, it's just a myth. An article published by SPCA New Zealand also shows that researchers have discovered goldfish tend to be misunderstood, and goldfish have memory spans that last a long time. Goldfish can hold memories for up to 5 months and have a sense of time and routine. From what I gathered, I believe it's about not only Stephen's mind, but also his physical ailments and his living situation, as there is only one small fish in a very large tank and one person in a very big apartment. So the fish swims aimlessly around all alone, and as we heard Stephen state, the fish only has one fin, so he has trouble swimming. This reminds me of a well-known quote from the movie Finding Nemo, when Dory says just keep swimming in reference to having a positive outlook no matter the difficulty presented. It means that everything will be okay moving forward. Like Stephen, she also suffers from amnesia. She has short-term memory loss and is a prominent character in most people's minds. Finding Nemo is also from the Disney family, just like MoonKnight, which is exclusive to Disney+, which really reveals the relations between the two. I'm not comparing their trauma, but both are rooted in immense traumatic events that were life-altering. Goldfish in tanks are observed by people, even in dentists, doctors' offices, and more, even restaurants. If Stephen's goldfish represents himself, maybe it's a bigger social commentary on how people with DID are often seen by mental health physicians and a large portion of society as people who need extra care, attention, and eyes on them to ensure they are safe and able to take care of themselves. Another thing about Stephen is that he's not the best at understanding conventional behavior in social situations. It shows that he doesn't have a shoulder to lay on in the bigger picture of his life, but also literally in this scene where he's exhausted and accidentally slumps onto a stranger on the bus, who ultimately shrugs him away. He also looks at a woman's paper and has to apologize for the intrusion of her space and privacy. Anyway, let's get back to the main point. Being carefully watched or taken care of by friends and family is something that often happens with anyone who has mental illness or acts different from the norm. Perhaps Stephen feels like a pet being watched by the public, and when he gets into scuffles with his boss, his co-workers, or law enforcement. Directly comparing some of the challenges presented in MoonKnight's Stephen Grant to Dory again, Marlin, Nemo's dad, gets frustrated by her short-term memory loss, kind of similar to how Khonshu gets tired of Stephen at the beginning. Even Mark gets tired of Stephen, and Mark's wife Layla also gets frustrated by Stephen's DID and doesn't believe it at first. She is mad, and rightfully so, due to her husband keeping her in the dark and essentially going out to live his life without her. But it is true that a lot of people are skeptical of DID, even today, as they believe it is too fantastical to be a real mental illness that actually affects people. While it is a rare illness, it should still be understood with an open mind, and part of the reason it isn't widely accepted is due to the media's demonizing portrayal of it in other films. An example of this being the 2016 movie Split, which is classified as a horror mystery and involves supernatural powers used with evil intent. This is just unrealistic, and anyone could commit crime. Also, it's titled a horror for a reason. Even though it did portray DID in a negative light, that one, it mostly took inspiration from DID, and it posed itself as DID when it really isn't. But taking my point back a step to the big fish tank idea, I don't believe Steven wants to be completely isolated. This is proven to me after he arrives home looking defeated after missing a date with a girl that he couldn't even remember asking out. This scene was a good use of the rhetorical appeal pathos, or pathos, as it makes the viewer feel sad for the character, which can create a deeper sense of connection and longing for his success. Rooting for a character's happiness and progression is all about what keeps the audience's attention, so it's very important, and I think that this scene for sure definitely hit me, because I was like, that is just sad. I feel really bad for him, and now he's eating the chocolates by himself and talking to the fish again. Anyway, of course, throughout the episode, we see that Steven has no real social interaction, since he is talking to the fish, a statue, and even his own mother doesn't return his calls or pick up the phone. But these lack of relationships, it is related to the inability to retain a consistent and stable relationship with others, but also the inability to create a healthy relationship with yourself. So he can't do that. He's confused and always struggling. And this is just like his goldfish, who swims around all alone in a large tank and is somewhat broken. At the end of the day though, no matter what the goldfish represents, I'm sure we'll find out more about it later on in the season and also potentially in future seasons. But what do you think the goldfish represents? I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe got something out of it. I will see y'all later.